you.
Hi, nice to meet you,
Yeah,
Annalise.
thank you. Um, and you're Charlie. Where are you from?
I'm from Shanghai, China.
Okay, cool. Um, okay, and then I'll get this started for us. So today we'll practice how to prepare for a presentation. We'll do some vocabulary practice. Um, and then today's topic is what makes a good presentation. Um, we'll have a topic covering which is better, and then a role play activity about giving advice to a friend.
All right.
Our first question is, do you like giving presentations?
I do some presentations during the work.
Mhm.
Yeah, presentation is a pretty good way to express the ideas, your thought. But I'm not very into that.
Mm, I
Uh,
understand. Um, why do you, well, I guess you just kind of explained the next question. Why do people give presentations, for what purposes? Um, and then do you remember any good presentations that you've attended or that you've given?
yeah, the good presentations. The slide is fundamental, I think. Uh, the the guys who the giving the presentation, his voice, his thinking, his uh, structural thinking, his communication skills, uh, his ideas could persuade the audience, could influence their thought. That's it. I think it's a good presentation.
Mhm.
If that adding a beautiful slide will be a plus.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's often true that when you have those visual representations, that helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Help you thinking about the relations about to the reality.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Except for the some pretty uh, concept that is difficult to understand.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So we'll practice reading um, these parts out loud. So I'm gonna let you read this part, and I will read this person's part.
Okay, so I will start.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, Jonathan. What's wrong?
Nothing really. I'm just lost. I have to give a presentation next week on my research, but I don't know where to start.
Oh, I know how that feels. I feel like that before I gave my first presentation 2 weeks ago.
You did? So how did you prepare for your presentation?
Well, first I carefully read the requirements for the presentation. For example, how long it should be and what should be included.
Good. And then I did want to go over, so this word is actually being used in past tense, so it would be read instead of read.
Read. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm,
read. Should. Yeah. Okay.
mhm. Okay. And then, okay, I can do that. Then what did you do?
Then I brainstormed what I should include in my presentation compared to my paper. After that, I thought about my audience based on what I wanted to talk about and what my audience already knew. I narrowed down what I thought was most important to talk about in my study. I knew I couldn't just read my paper to them.
Ha, I did not, or I didn't think about my audience. What else?
Then I decided the main focus of my presentation, considering the time limit.
I see. Thanks. I think I can get it started. Okay, good. And then the vocabulary words we have are requirement, to brainstorm, audience, to narrow, focus, and time limit. Are there any of these that you're not familiar with or that you're seeing for the first time?
Brainstorm is adjective verb, or
It's a verb, yeah.
should it got an object behind?
So you would say like um,
To a brainstorm only, or brainstorm something?
you could say either really. I mean, someone could say, I need to brainstorm, and that could be a complete sentence, or somebody could say, I need to brainstorm some ideas about this project, and that would also work.
Oh, we can do both. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Others are okay.
Okay.
Others are okay.
Okay. And then want you to try to use the vocabulary words on this side to answer the questions on the right. So our first question is, what do you usually do to prepare for a presentation?
I should read the example, or I just make up one?
You can just say either say what you normally do or make up an answer for what you normally do.
Yeah. Usually when I do to prepare a presentation, I have to think the main focus point, what I want to bring the idea to my audience, what my audience are only colleagues, or some other customers, or suppliers. I will brainstorm a little bit about the concept, how to visualize that, makes the concept more easy for them to consume. And maybe there are some other requirements I want them to follow, or some new requirements that some of the colleagues know, but some are not. So the time limit is also a consideration, because not all the colleagues, the time is money. I co-work with other colleagues with different time zones, so I have to keep the meetings as effective as possible, as short as possible.
Okay, very good. And then what kind of information helps you narrow down what to include in a presentation?
I think a clear thought about the concept you want to bring, some visual method is also helpful, and maybe a general link, some pre-condensed information, some keywords as a reminder, but get some reference within the links, so you can check more about details. So the presentation can be pretty narrow, dense, and easy to digest.
And then why is it important to consider the time limit of a presentation?
Yeah, if the time is too short, maybe all the audience could not catch the main point. You have to extend a little bit, but you cannot make it too long and tedious. Otherwise, maybe somebody needs some other important stuff. They may check their phones, or maybe get tired or somehow. So the time limit is pretty important when you want to get information to the audience directly, effectively.
Okay. And then in general, a presentation is a way of communicating with your audience through a form of demonstration or performance with one or some of the following purposes. So our first purpose is to inform your audience about some new discoveries. A different purpose might be to persuade your audience to buy a product or a service. Another one is to ask your audience to take action, to get them to do something. And the last is to involve your audience to complete some task. And then
So
our
this
discussion.
presentations.
Mhm,
Sorry, pardon. I
mhm,
beg pardon. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah.
This is for the presentation, general or academic presentations?
Um, I would say these
General, right?
are these are all presentations in general. Any of these could be used in an academic situation, but I would say any of these could also be used in a business situation as well.
Okay. Discoveries. Yeah.
Okay. And then on our discussion question, have you ever given presentations for any of these reasons?
Reasons, I think, take actions is
Mhm.
most happened inside a department or company. Item 2, to buy product or service, is only for the, usually for the customers. And item 3, complete some task. Usually it's a project manager or some manager staff to really align the timeline or the schedule. Some sort of thing will happen. New discoveries. I don't know how to define the discoveries. A little bit academic side, I think.
Mhm. Sometimes I think the situations where I gave presentations about new discoveries, but that weren't in an academic setting, were usually when maybe if we wanted to implement like a new plan or a new system, because we noticed that employees were working a certain way. We wanted to kind of continue to see that improvement. So sometimes I think that's how we see discoveries being presented in a business setting, is when maybe when we see certain improvements in the business, and then kind of a plan is implemented in order to continue to see those kinds of improvements, or continue to see those kinds of uh, that kind of progress. Yeah.
So the discoveries maybe talk to some new updates, new
Hmm.
informations.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a scientific discovery. It can be something a little bit different.
Okay. It directly related for me. It directly related to the archaeology discoveries.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see. Yeah. Um, and then our last section says, in most academic presentations, the purpose of the presentation is to inform the audience about your research. So kind of what you were saying about with the discoveries, that could be like a very academic situation. But I could see it being applied in other situations as well.
Mhm.
And then here are some questions to ask yourself when you're preparing a presentation. Um, and then who is the audience? How many people are there? What does the audience already know, or what is their background? What is the purpose of my presentation? How much time do I have? What is the presentation venue like? A small room or a big stage? And then what visual
Pardon,
or
sorry,
mhm,
the venue,
mhm,
the presentation venue
mhm.
is only for the location, the environment, the hall, or something like that.
Yeah, it refers to location.
Okay.
And then what visual or audio aid can I use, such as PowerPoint, a YouTube video, props, or an audio excerpt of an interview.
What does props mean?
Um, Props, they're usually physical objects that you might bring to a presentation um, to hand out to the audience. So, for example, when I
Some reading
teach,
materials?
yeah, it could be reading materials. Um, a good example is when Sometimes I teach students about an essay where they have to write about an object that is important to them. So I bring a bunch of different objects that are important to me to the class, and then I pass them out and people can kind of touch them and handle them. And I talk about, this is when I got this object, this is why it's important to me. And this is, if I was to write an essay about this, this is what it would look like. So that's a way of using a prop for a presentation. Other ways might be like, I could see, what were you gonna ask?
Something to make the concept a little bit realism.
Yeah. Well, it also it adds like a tactile element to learning about something that you're showing your audience about, and touching things is one of the ways that we learn how to do things. So sometimes that's why a prop might be useful in a presentation situation.
Okay, more clear. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And then are there any other questions that you would ask yourself in preparation for a presentation?
The purpose of the presentation, or the purpose, it should already included. After the presentation, the information you want to tell the audience, and the next step, the main purpose. Could you do the presentation and get your purpose done, or you they could just get the information, they will do nothing about it? I think that the purpose should be put high priority. The presentation, does it have effects? Does it reach your goal? Some sort of like that. It's very important. Or maybe you should do a next step follows after presentation. Yeah, to keep updated for all the people involved.
Okay. Yeah, I think those are good questions. And then out of either on this list or some of the questions that you came up with, what are the questions that you consider the most while preparing for a presentation?
You mean all these items, the most priority, or?
Yeah, yeah. Which do you think you consider the most on this list?
On this, I think the audience. What does the audience already know of the backgrounds? Usually, this kind of information. Actually, I'm an R&D engineer, research and developer engineer, more tech side. When I have presentations with other colleagues or customers, usually we talk about lots of jargons. But for the customers or the other colleagues from colleagues from other departments, they may not familiar with. So to make the presentation more understandable, to convey the information more effectively, so you have to consider the audience, what they already know, their backgrounds, and to get the things done, you have to make the presentation, the concept pretty clear for them, especially for what they should do or what they should consider. They are divided the follow-ups with precise steps.
Yeah, I think those are definitely some of the things that I think about as well. I think about audience the most. What do they want and what do they need to learn? So in a presentation, knowing your audience is crucial. Who do you expect your audience to be in terms of the 4 factors below? So our 4 factors are audience expectations, attitude toward the topic, audience size, and knowledge of topic. And for the knowledge of topic, if the presentation is too easy, the audience will get bored. Audience expectations, what does your audience expect to learn from your presentation? Attitude toward the topic, if a presentation is on a controversial topic, it's helpful to know what the audience thinks about the topic. And the audience size, the bigger the audience size, the more formal it becomes. Okay. So based on that information, which of these 4 factors do you think is okay, so our question is, who do you expect your audience to be in terms of the 4 factors below?
Who do you expect audience to be in terms? I'm really confused.
I would say, I guess maybe they're trying to get us to say that it's an academic audience, since that's what the topic of the lesson is. But that sentence is kind of unclear because there's not anything else on this slide that indicates who the audience is. So I don't know. We'll just move on. Okay, so imagine you're giving a presentation on climate change or a topic of your choice for 2 different audiences, your classmates and a group of 5-year-olds. Brainstorm possible topics first with me and narrow the topic to suit the 2 different audiences. Explain how you decided the final topic. So what kind of topic would you like to give or would you like to pretend to give a presentation on? Would you want to do climate change or would you want to do something else?
Climate change, I think.
Okay. And then how would you give the presentation to this audience, this group of children?
Maybe I could remind them whether the dropping of snow during the winter is less and summer is getting hotter. And you have to you could take more swimming days during the summer, but you can see less snows and play with snowballs for the children's side.
Okay. And then what about on the group of college students?
I would like to give some examples and lead them to get some the reasons cause the climate change, which kind of the reasons are, what kind of the human beings' behavior could affect these kind of things, and what we could do to prevent it, and make it more comprehensible or more doable for daily life, taking carpools or doing sort of thing like that, categorize the letters, something like that, to make them think that they're taking the right thing to do to make to reverse the climate change somehow. So they are more they got more participation in the whole thing, and they get more initiatives.
Yeah, very good.
Thanks.
Okay. And then there are 3 factors that make a good presentation. Can you think of other aspects that make a good presentation besides what is on this list? So we have on point, on target, and coherent. But what other things might make a good presentation?
Could you explain a little bit about coherent?
Sure. So our description is there is a spine in the presentation that pieces together all the information. So coherent, I would say, also refers to how the information is organized within the presentation. If your information is not ordered or organized in such a way that that the audience can understand what you're talking about, then it won't be coherent. And coherent mostly just means like, can people understand? If we say this person is coherent, then we're saying we can understand them. If we say this person is incoherent, then we're saying we can't understand them. But yeah.
Does the span means the vertebrae span? the span?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's talking about. So thinking of the spine as like a way of organizing something, are yeah, like the spine also, it's a word that we use when we're talking about connections to things.
No.
So like if I say
The function of a skeleton?
Trying to think of another example to use spine.
The metaphor meaning I have not I'm not familiar with. Okay, then
Yeah.
I think it's understandable for me now.
Okay.
Three factors. Good presentation factors. Does time limit count?
Yeah, I think so. You could call that like the delivery, because and the time limit, it varies, right? Depending on if you're giving a really long presentation, it might be like if you're giving, sorry, I lost my train of thought. If you're giving a really long presentation, you might have to think about making sure your audience doesn't get bored, right? If you're giving a short presentation, you can do things that are a little more creative, because you don't have to, because things are being presented in a short way, you don't have to worry about people losing interest quickly. And then we have one final question down here. So it's asked, can you pass the elevator test? Which means, can you say the most important idea in your presentation in 30 seconds? And this is obviously assuming that you already have a presentation, but you might not. But if you wanted to say something about climate change, you could. But yeah, the elevator test is, it comes from it's a phrase used in business, also called an elevator pitch. But basically it's where you pitch a business idea to like a boss or a coworker within an elevator, and you're only with that person for about 30 seconds. So you have to say something really convincing to them to get them to.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
In an extremely short of time, you have to present your thought very clearly and influence the guy you're talking to.
Yes, that's right.
I have the pitch. Does it have anything to do with the pitcher in the baseball?
Kind of that, in the idea that you're throwing an idea out to someone, or an opportunity out to someone for them to pay attention to. But yeah, we're almost out of time. It was really nice to meet you. Have a good day, okay?
Thanks.